a lot of times guys will come in and we'll get them actually at their maintenance level of calories based on their age, weight, height, sex, activity level, the plan that we have in there, all of the stuff that we anticipate them to be doing. And they're
Yeah.
like, wow, this is a lot of food. I've never eaten this much
Yeah.
food in my life. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
dude, like if you are training to increase your performance, especially in multiple domains such as strength, calisthenics, running, muscular endurance, all of that stuff simultaneously or concurrently, you have to eat a lot of food to sustain it. Like
Yeah.
I always tell guys like the training is where we communicate to our body through imposing stress that we want these adaptations to occur. But if you're not providing it with the raw resources outside of that gym, like nothing's going to happen. So
Yeah.
like simply, obviously you and I have two different methodologies, I would say, of going about it, calories
Yeah.
versus like the RP approach or just focusing on macros. Like put simply, you're talking to a dude that's never tracked macros. He just kind of eats whatever he feels like, eats when he's hungry, doesn't know about protein consumption. Where would you start with like, hey, you need to be eating this amount of food? Obviously, we would build him out a specific meal plan. It's like you should eat this. But let's say we can't build out a meal plan. We're just giving guidance on macros. How do we identify that maintenance level? Like the number, like where do we start him so he can walk away and be like, I need to eat this much on a daily basis.
Yeah. I mean, 1 is an easier number than 0.8. So for general rule of ease, 1 gram times body weight is your protein marker right there. So if you weigh 185, you are trying to get to 185 grams of protein per day. And that doesn't, there's always like a gray area. So like if you hit 170 on one day and 200 on the other day, like you're still in that good range. It doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, 185,
Yeah.
185 or I
Today
die.
was a waste.
Yeah, yeah, that's real though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that
So
would be it.
85 grams of protein or 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight.
Yeah.
What about carbohydrates and fats?
So for fats, there is a general rule of thumb that I follow, and I did steal it from RP. And there's a minimum per body weight, and that's a zero point 0.3 to potentially zero point 0.4 times body weight. And that's a minimum. So if you're a 200-pound gentleman, uh, that's like about 60 grams of fat at a minimum. So like if we
Hmm.
were at a cut, that would be your minimum marker. So so having that in mind and looking at what they've eaten in the past, you can kind of get an idea because to me, that minimum marker is decent hormonal levels. Decent. Like they're already going to kind of be bad if you're in a major cut. You're trying to get like 6, 7% body fat, and you can do that with those numbers. So for someone on our side that's a little bit more active, our number might be zero point 0.5 minimum, even if
Yeah.
they're cutting quite a bit of weight. They still want that 1.5 like you talked about earlier.
Right. I don't know why I've always done this. I guess it makes sense to put it as a multiplier, but I've always done 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight or at least zero point 0.8 per pound of body weight. And then
Yeah.
for carbohydrates and fats, I typically go percentage based. So I like
Yeah.
I'll do 20 to 25% fats and then 40, sometimes 50% carbohydrates.
Okay.
Obviously, that being a primary fuel source, much higher. And sometimes if I'm running like a really endurance heavy program, I might drop the protein down to zero point 0.9 grams of
Yep.
per pound of body weight so I can increase the carbohydrates a little bit further. So
Absolutely.
it definitely varies, but I guess starting from like that maintenance level, the simplest thing someone can do is, I think, work at the calorie range. And that is
Yeah.
the total daily energy expenditure, which includes how much they burn at rest or their BMR, neat, or non exercise activity. Um, and then and then that'll give the total number and the obviously the exercise, and that'll give the total number of calories that they burn on a daily basis to stay at maintenance. A lot of guys, I always recommend guys doing MyFitnessPal or one of the apps, just like one of the calculators to get a basic number of where this is at. And that is a starting point. And then go and based off that trend, like you and I talked about, 7 to 10 day trend of weighing in, being consistent with that calorie range throughout the week. So the averages are around those numbers, and then seeing what that does to your body, and then titrating or increasing up and down or down by 250 calories. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
I really like that percentage model. Like once you have that protein pillar, like working in those percentages. Yeah, I've never thought about that before, but like, yeah, it's nice and plain and simple. And you can get a really good idea of like gasoline or fuel for the type of training that you're doing, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love it.
When do you think, as far as like in selection prep, when do you think it is appropriate for somebody to gain weight, maintain, or lose weight? Like what kind of things do you look at, both performance wise or body comp wise, where you're like, I think you should probably lose a little bit weight, or I think you should gain some weight.
So I can't really say goals because the goal would be to get through selection. So we would scratch goals off, number one. Number two, we would look at their actual bodies. So I would want to know how tall they are and what they weigh, and see if they're at a mechanical disadvantage to try to help them out, i.e., like with rucking and just coming in contact with load. Um, and then I would want to look at their run times, would probably be the third thing I would look at. Also, if I had the chance, I could look at their body fat percentage for sure, and see that as where is it headed, where has it been at, things of that nature. So they would probably be like the four things I would look at to determine. If their run times are good, so like that 2 mile run time is 13:30 or below. Um, if they can sustain training, like if this is a guy who I've been training with for 8 to 12 weeks, and he might have like a slight little ache and pain come up here and there, but it's mild. We snip things in the butt. Then I would be like, okay, how's rucking for you? Well, it's not too bad, but I just can't seem to make the times. I notice my back feels really fatigued, even though we've been rucking for the last 3 months. Then I take a look in the weight room, look at his squat numbers, and he's really not getting anything like beyond body weight type of numbers. I'd be like, okay, this individual, this might really help him out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the situation. A lot of times guys, we'll hear all the time of like it's usually like the guys that are 5'10", 180 pounds that they're like, I want to be massive. I want to be jacked. I want to add a bunch of mass. I'm like, dude, that's not necessarily going to help you. Like the big things that we want to look at are your strength numbers. Do you have the strength that is going to not only enable you to get through selection, to get through carrying the heavy pack out at land navigation and through team week, which requires a massive strength capacity, not massive, but a lot of strength in comparison to other military courses. And then two is your run times, and three is your calisthenics. Um, if someone, and I would add that rucking in there as well, but like, uh, if someone is running fast, like you said, that sub 13:30, big guys who can also run fast tend to perform better. But big guys who are at that 14:30, 15 mark, losing some weight could be beneficial to get those run times down. I forget the number, but like for every pound, there's so many seconds supposedly that you can shave off of your run time, which seems to be true a lot of times, and also seems to be true for calisthenics. Granted, they don't just plummet their calories and zap a lot of their energy stores. They can see improvements in both their push-ups, their pull-ups, and a lot of times bigger guys will be like, I don't want to lose any weight because if I lose weight, my strength numbers are going to go down. But this guy's deadlifting 500 pounds. Like, you're not going to need that massive strength number, but you're going to need the run time. You're going to need the ability to move over those longer distances. And if you keep that weight on, or keep, focusing on just those strength numbers because that ego needs to be scratched a little bit, you're going to be hurting with the things that actually matter. So I would say it definitely varies, but what I would emphasize for the guys listening to this is like, base that decision off of your performance over everything. You know, obviously there's like ideal ranges of body fat percentage that we can be in based on studies that were done at selection, and those things do come into play, but they're also like they also emphasize that these ranges tend to run the fastest. These ranges tend to perform best in the calisthenics. These ranges tend to have the most strength. So like those metrics are what matter, and we want to eat in a way that can support those and driving up your numbers not only where you want to see them, where your ego wants to see them, but where they actually matter for selection.
Yeah. And just to harp on, like we have a billion times, there's a time to put on mass, and that's when you're on team. Like if that's something you want to do. But it's also like a dual-edged sword too. I know guys that have like, I want to get epically huge. Like I want to be a door kicker, essentially. But then they have to train up for something that requires miles, and then they'll struggle there too. So, like you talked about, I think the previous podcast, just always having that PT test or something to look forward to kind of keep you well rounded.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with any operators in the 23 STS that wanted to get really big and then they did get really big and then they struggled with even the basics of their job or with injuries that were pulling them apart with it? Or was it pretty like guys are
Nah,
pretty squared away most of the time?
guys are squared away. Like I have slabbed some beef on dudes. I've helped guys gain like 80 to 100 pounds. This is like post-op. They looked gnarly. Um, but yeah, we've gained a lot of weight and none of them. And I think it has to do with that GPP, that base that they have set not only through the pipeline, just their whole life, to where it's like we're gonna call upon you to run 5 miles, and they still can. Um,
Yeah.
are we running 5 miles in training? No, but we are spending time on our feet, so they're generally prepared to handle that.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a base standpoint and a mindset standpoint. I think like I was thinking about this the other day of kind of taking like the base for granted or taking like all the time you walk through the woods and do SUT and all that stuff. I used to think of it not in like a physical performance sense. There's always like a mental performance aspect of
Mm,
it. But now I look back and I'm like the time that you put on your feet and under a pack throughout the Q course, you raise your training age of
dude,
being able to carry a pack that like a lot of times it doesn't matter what your training looks like. This is like kind of where I got in trouble, but like what your training looks like, you're always going to be able to gut through a ruck just because
yep,
of like those years of experience carrying that pack. Unless you really let yourself go, like you're going to be able to do it at least once. You know what I mean?
totally.
It's like not as good as I once was, but as good as or as good once as I ever was. Like you'll be able to
Yep,
do it
great
one
song.
time at least, you know?
But to go back, I feel like I've seen, so we talked about the weight gain being detrimental, which in the most part, it is not on team. But I've seen different nutrition ideas be one of the most detrimental things at a unit. Like
Yes.
seriously, uh, we did a team event one time. I won't mention his name. Uh, this subject was a stud, one of the best PJs I've ever met. And this guy was like really into whatever he was into at the time.
Mm,
Big Rogan
I
guy.
feel that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just I loved it though, like because whatever he was into, I was gonna know about it all day long. And he was really big into I want to say paleo, but it was just like primal eating.
Okay.
Maybe it was paleo at the time because I knew it wasn't carnivore.
Okay.
But it was we are not eating any carbs, bro. We are just going to eat red meat and hardly anything else. Some healthy fats, which like I'm not knocking that diet. That it's everything is a tool in the toolbox that you keep in your
Right.
shed for certain time and place. So anyway, we did this little event that I cooked up, which I called the PJ ladder. Now, granted, I'm at the unit. I have all the time in the world. I set this bad boy up. And what it was you start with a rower. and it was our infill. And I think it was some weird number. It was like 1,200 meters. I always like to do like wacky numbers like that. Like, oh, we're doing a 1,200-meter row. Then I had about like 6 or 8 barbells. Imagine like the CrossFit games just lined up. And it was a deadlift ladder. And it was a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 all the way until you got to the end. And at the
Nasty.
very end of that was a sled with 225. And you had to take it all the way back to the rower for the exfil. And since the PJs do some intricate stuff during exfil, like with a patient, they had
Right.
to do double unders, which I knew was a skill that we didn't practice it. So I was like, all right, do 40 double unders. So you had your infill, you had your running to cover. That was like my theory with you know, the deadlifts. And then take the sled back. It was you got your patient, let's rip them back, and then you got to start doing work on them. So that was the idea with it. It's called the PJ ladder. Well, this dude who has done that multiple times in combat on this diet got to the sled and controlled alt deleted himself. Gave himself almost mild rhabdo. Like he didn't have no energy. His glycogen stores were gone. He didn't have any glycogen. Yeah, he was just done. And the guy, because it was a mirrored event, so it was two guys head to head. Another guy was just a combat controller, like doing the PJ ladder. So they
Yeah.
took off together, and that combat controller ate him up, just dusted
Really.
him. Yeah, yeah, just because like he ate carbs.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I've definitely experimented with stuff, and I could dive into that. But one of the things that was most interesting to me throughout my entire career is when we were in Afghanistan, we had a PJ attached to our team, and this guy was like obsessed with prolonged fasts. And I bring it up
This
because
might be
he's,
the same guy. Yeah.
dude, maybe it could
Was
be.
did he seem like he was from a different country, even though he was American?
I mean, yeah, he didn't have an accent. He was very secluded. Um, he, like he was a nice dude, not like
Oh yeah,
dogging him at all, but like we were working around the camp all day. We're in this little camp in Afghanistan. He would be in his chew learning Spanish. You know what I mean? So like he was pretty segregated. But and I always say like I think if he was doing the level of physical output during the day that we were doing and then also running the missions at night, I don't think it would have been as sustainable. But he would do
Mm-mm.
like 72-hour fasts and then go out on operations like 48 hours into this 72-hour fast because he has this like schedule of when he wanted to fast throughout the month. And I remember thinking, I'm like, dude, that is not a good idea. Like, you are our medical support. What if something goes down? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's a period of darkness raid. We plan on being back in 6 hours, but like anything can happen out there. We could be out there for 15 days. Like, who knows? You know what I
Right.
mean? So, but he always performed really well. And a lot of
Hmm.
times he would like get back from mission and like go hit the gym. And I was like, dang, I
Yes.
just don't get it. So that kind of experience showed me uh two things. One, I'm never gonna take advice from a PJ. No, I'm just kidding.
That's all good.
No. And two, we're not like, made of glass. Like you
Mm.
can in a pinch push through those imperfect nutrition. We didn't have perfect nutrition. We were eating food that was getting shot up while it was driven into, from camp to camp. So like we had very, guys were getting sick off the lettuce and all this type of stuff. It was not good food. But it was just a crazy experience seeing him fast. But, throughout my career, like I've always been into fitness, obviously, strength and conditioning. And with that comes learning different ways of eating. And I think one of the things that got me into fitness when I was like first learning about it, like training for selection, how do I get my run times down? Is nobody in like SF was doing this type of thing. It was all the SEALs. So there was Stu Smith and there
Hmm.
was SEAL Fit, if you ever heard of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Mark Devine from SEAL Fit, he harps. I don't know if he does now, but back then harped on a paleo diet. So
Yes.
I went to Iraq and I did a paleo diet pretty much my entire trip there. And I didn't track any food, didn't track calories or anything. I ate as much meat as I wanted to. I ate as much vegetables as I wanted to. I ate as much fruit as I wanted to. I mixed in a little bit of dairy because I freaking love dairy and I'll never cut it out. And but I just cut out like processed carbohydrates, breads, pasta, etc. I got like the leanest I've ever been. My run times definitely got faster, but my endurance tanked a little bit. Like I just
Yeah.
couldn't go for those really long periods of time. So then when I got back, that's when I started, like, oh, I'm gonna mix in like clean carbohydrates and like hit these carb numbers. But I definitely think there's for like from like a general health standpoint, because people's diets are so bad generally, that something like that can be beneficial. But for performance, for training, for selection, there's definitely a better way than just blindly cutting out carbohydrates because you think they make you slow.
Yeah. Is that the most extreme diet you've ever done?
I did carnivore for 6 weeks,
Oh, cool.
um, and I did carnivore plus an avocado every day. Um, so that was probably the most extreme that I've ever done. And um, I didn't, I felt good. I got lean. My energy was consistent throughout the day, but it was never like a lot of energy. You know what I mean? Like I just felt okay throughout the day. I never had those times where I'm like, let's go. You know what I mean? And then, man, I can't remember. I think we were like, we had a ping pong table in the team room, and we would stay after work, like our team sergeant would be like, get the hell out of here. Like you guys, it's like 7 p.m. We're in there playing ping pong. He's like, why are you guys still here? Like I told you guys to go home. We're like, we're playing ping pong, Sergeant. um, and I remember like it was like an intense game of ping pong, and I was like sweating, and I started getting like dizzy and lightheaded, and I was like, this is like 6 weeks into that carnivore diet. I'm
Oh,
like, are you
yeah.
kidding me? Playing ping pong? Like, dude, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah. That's
Good
awesome.
experiment concluded, dude.
That's great.
But yeah. What did your nutrition plan look like when you were like peak weightlifting, competing in nationals?
So it was RP. My protein was near like 1.25 to almost 1.5 times my body weight. Um, in the weightlifting circle, like 1.5 is considered like normal average for like a professional Olympic weightlifter. And that's just,
1.5.
hmm yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yep, almost all the way up to 2, depending on, really depends on your weight, is the huge marker. So, like a lot of, how do I want to say this without hurting anyone's feelings? A lot
Say
of
it.
lighter weight class gentlemen. So, like
Okay.
if you're lifting in like the 165 range and below, you can get away with a lot more protein just because of the degradation of lifting weights for 2 to 3 hours a day and just all that encompasses that breakdown. And then um, my good friend of mine and weightlifter on my team at the time, his name's Dr. Christopher Tabor. He did some research on protein. I think it was has to do with how much you can absorb. It was like a whole study on that. And it was really to figure out because at the time, at least 10 years ago, it was like, can we absorb more than 20 grams of protein?
I remember.
And
And then it was 50.
yeah. And then it
Now it's
was like,
100
well,
plus.
it just depends.
Yeah. Who knows?
But in his research, what they found out through a byproduct, which I thought was super cool, is how it changes as you age. And
Hmm.
essentially, because of testosterone levels, there's a huge correlation of how much can be absorbed into the body. And what you see, it was like this graph. And he showed me like after 40 years of age, like there's this dip and then a monster decline. So as you age, you would have to eat more and more protein to sustain normal levels. So that was a fact.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But was there ever a correlation to body weight and the amount you can actually absorb?
No, not in a single serving. It was just that in the weightlifting circles, like all of the smaller dudes ate a lot of protein, about the same as much as like a super heavy, which is someone who's 220 plus. And it was like those bigger gentlemen definitely ate more carbs and more fat, so they had more calories going through them, but the proteins always seemed to be around the same. And
Right.
I think that was just because the sport's kind of plain in itself. Like if you're on a team, the whole team's getting that workout. So the work is almost the same, so to speak, as far as like sets, reps. The load then dictates how much work.
Right.
Um, so I always just found that interesting. So I was eating a lot of protein, and I think if I didn't eat that much protein, I would have been broken because I was fighting being broken every day for at least like a 2 or 3 year stint when I really had a chance to go to nationals. Now, previous that, there's been times where I've really messed myself up. Like I remember when I first got into it, and a strength coach I was working with was like, "Hey, man, if you drop like 20 pounds and just keep your numbers," he's like, you could be like an Olympic hopeful." So what did I do? Just lose as much weight as humanly possible, so much to where like things in my body didn't work anymore, and I would just
Mm.
pass out at night. So I've taken it to pretty bad levels.
Like near death.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
Um,
crazy.
but yeah, so when I was training, I was probably around 1.5 times body weight. Um, my carbohydrates was probably right around 300, and my fats were low. My fats were like 35 to 45 to 60, depending on the day.
And that was
It,
when you were eating at maintenance or in those big cuts?
I was eating at maintenance. I was already down to like 159 at the time
Okay.
because my coach and I had agreed to it was like, hey, we could get down to your weight, you could make a cut, and then you're on that or stage hitting those lifts at a body weight that you're going to be unfamiliar with, because in our sport you would weigh in and then 2 hours later you'd be, you know, almost PR like weight on your body. And that's why you see some lifters pass out from time to time. It's
Mm,
just dehydration because they tried to make a cut that they couldn't handle.
got it.
And as I got older, I was like, I don't want to do this. So it's like, okay, 12 weeks out, you're weighing that weight and you're going to feel what it's like for 3 months at that weight, which is horrible, but it made the
Yeah.
meat good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. You mentioned doing RP, Renaissance Periodization, which is Mike Israel's company that he's partnered in. Can you explain the RP methodology of eating?
Uh, to my knowledge, I don't work for them, um, but I've used their math for a long time. It's all about finding your maintenance calories first. So how they would do that is, like I said earlier, you would find you're just matching energy expenditure. So how much you move and how much you ingest would be your maintenance. So you're not losing any weight, you're not gaining any weight. You would consider that maintenance phase. And then where you would go from there would be based upon your goal. So if you wanted to gain weight or if you wanted to lose weight, it would shift 250 calories up or down. Now, things changed when you would go from gaining to losing. Um, what I remember is when you would lose weight, protein could go up, but fats and carbs would dwindle. And as you would gain weight, your protein could actually come down a little bit into that zero point 0.8 spectrum. So you could
Mm,
get your carbs and fats higher. But for the most part, that 1 times body weight was always at play for me. Um, the carbohydrates and fats would kind of cycle throughout the day, depending on where your output was the greatest. So most of my carbohydrates were in and around my training. Um, and I would still eat carbs throughout the day, and then they would dwindle to, just because I was at a lighter weight at the time. I wouldn't have any carbs at night. And then on my off days, just from where I was, I wouldn't have any carbs at all until the last meal of the day. I would eat about 100 grams of carbs as like a refeed, fill me up with some glycogen, and then go back into a training session the next morning.
got it. Makes
Um,
sense.
yeah. And because it was very macro focused, um, there wasn't a ton of micronutrient emphasis. So, like that 100-calorie meal for me was like, I'm making protein pancakes with some maple syrup, and like, I'm going to love my life for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, which was good. I liked RP because it was very mathematically methodical for me. It was easy for me to follow. At the time, there was no app. It was an Excel sheet that they emailed to you. So it was easy for me to just kind of see where I was at because it would be a light to moderate training day. You would get your macro or meal plan for that. It would be like a heavy training day. You would get your meal plan for that, and then an off day. So maybe 2 times a week were like my heavy hard days. The rest were like my intermediate days, and then on one of the days or 2 of the days, just depending on the cycle I was on, would be my off days of eating. So I kind
Hmm.
of learned how to work from there. But the diet that I really liked, I still follow to this day, is the vertical diet by Stan Efferding. And that diet pretty much changed how I thought. Um, it's a slang. It was called like the steak and rice diet for a while. But if you imagine on a horizontal axis, you have to hit all these micronutrients throughout the day. So some of it would be like you got to get your pepper in, you got to get your spinach in. It's like these actual foods that you have to hit. Um, all the foods are very digestible. I think that was like the key of the diet. This gentleman named Stan Efferding was grabbing strongman at the time. I know he took Thor Bjornsson, um, Brian Shaw, and was trying to get them to eat more digestible foods to help their training. He messed around with some CrossFit folk as well. So there's all these micronutrients that you have to hit. And the vertical diet was just how much steak and rice you were going to eat because it was primarily a red meat diet. So it was a lot of ground beef, some steak cuts at the time, would fill that vertical access point. But it was probably the healthiest I've ever eaten in my life. Like every day I was eating spinach, sweet potatoes or a regular potato, peppers. So all the vegetables, which I was not used to eating, were very agreeable with me. They weren't like very gaseous vegetables like broccoli, which like I went to go back to broccoli a couple years ago because my wife loves it, and I went to eat it and it was just like not good for me. So so yeah, that's what I currently do now.
Vertical diet. I have not. So you're
Vertical diet.
optimizing for micronutrients and then filling
Hmm.
in the macros on the backside.
Yep. I would say micronutrients and digestibility are probably the two big pings on that diet.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I like that. Maybe that's the next experiment.
Oh, dude, you're
I
gonna
need
feel
I
hella
need a
good.
new nutrition experiment. I've just been doing calories and macros for a long time, but I
Yeah.
think when I was at my best, and I've always been like, I joke about this, but until I met my wife, I basically ate like a Neanderthal. Like
Yeah.
I mean, like bare bones food. I think the first meal I ever cooked my wife was eggs and rice. She was like, "What?" It's like, "This is all I got, baby." Check my pantry. I got
Yeah.
nothing. I got eggs and rice and Kodiak pancakes. What you want?
Oh shoot.
But no, I ate very, very simply, and I've always kind of taken the mindset of like optimize for calories and macros. Obviously, the micronutrients matter. Get some, vegetables in, but I've never thought about it doing it opposite, optimizing for micronutrients. But from like a longevity standpoint, like absolutely, like as a main priority, I think it makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll play around with the vertical diet.
Yeah.
Um,
And he helped me out with supplementation too, because it wasn't until the vertical diet started that I started weaning off supplements and started
which
taking
ones in
less and
particular?
less. And did I stop taking?
Yeah, like which ones did
Or
you wean off because of the diet?
um, so the one that I weaned off, which I'm back on now just because it's habit, was fish oils.
Okay.
That was like my big one because I felt like I needed them. And actually, with the amount of red meat and salmon that I was consuming, I was good. Um, he used to put out a lot of videos when this diet started, and one of them was like a copy off of Louis Simmons from West Side. Always said, you have a what is it, $200 squat shoes and a 10-cent squat. So Stan took that and twisted it and was just like, you have $200 worth of creatine, like, but you don't sleep at night. Like, you're
Right.
wasting your money.
For sure.
Um, and I was eating so much red meat at the time. Stan did this video of like, yeah, you don't need creatine, you're okay. And that was huge for me. But recent
So
to that,
you supplement with creatine now, or you cycled it out?
yeah, no, I went back. I went back to
Okay.
it later in my later years, and for the amount that I take now, I would say I take creatine more for the brain than I do for sports performance.
How much grams are you taking per day?
10.
10.
That's
Nice.
where it switched for me. From
Yeah.
5 to 10, it was dramatic. Now, when I come fly out to you, I'll take 20 grams the day before, probably the night before. I'll take 20 grams the morning of, and I'll take 20 grams again that night.
Really?
Yes,
What
and
are
I
the
will felt,
cognitive benefits?
yeah. Well, it started out with an experiment with red eyes and learning how, like, can this creatine help me with sleep depth? And Dr. Rhonda Patrick did a whole thing with this guy who's like a creatine loader. That's all he studies. That's all he
Right.
does. And I'll send you that video if I can find it. And I experimented with it on a couple of flights, a couple of road trips, and now it's just like habit. Anytime I travel, I'm gonna just go 20, and it's like 3 times. It's before the travel, right before the travel, and usually the night of the travel. And I don't get like that brain fog, like waking up feeling like I was partying all night type of feeling, you know?
Yeah. So let's say someone is training up with an 18x contract and they're going to be shipping out. They can't
Hmm.
take creatine when they're at basic training or throughout the pipeline. Do you recommend them taking creatine throughout their train up prior to getting in the military?
100%.
Why?
100%. Why? Because it can expedite their recovery. It can help. It's an advantage. That's probably the simplest way I could say. It is an advantage. It's going to do things for your physiology on the recovery side that is great. It's going to do things for you on the energy side that is great. So if one of your weaknesses is strength or repeatability strength or your ability to handle a carry for an extended period of time, it is an absolute fact that creatine will help you.
Yeah. The way I always like to describe it to guys is by increasing your recovery times. I'm sorry, decreasing, speeding up your recovery by increasing maybe the amount of reps you could get, whether it's 1, 2 reps. Like it's not going to be substantial in the short term. You're not going to like take creatine and be like, oh, now I can go lift a freaking truck. But those built up over a period of time raise your baseline performance levels. It gives you that advantage. So you go in with a higher level of performance that you likely would not have had otherwise if you didn't take it. It's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be like, you know, 3 minutes different on your 2 mile time or anything like that. But we're talking, maybe 30 seconds because you recovered faster between sessions throughout your train up and you were able to get more quality sessions in than someone who was not recovering as quick.
Yeah.
The counter argument to it would be the weight gain that is associated with creatine monohydrate. Let's say someone is 5'11", 190 pounds. Let's say my weight. I'm 5'11", 198. I know that when I'm at 205, I'm hurting. I'm hurting on the runs. But when I'm at 190, I'm fast as shit. If I'm like at that 195, 198 mark, like I am dialed with strength and I have decent run times, could creatine potentially be a negative if it led to that 3 to 5 pound weight gain and it hurt my runtime?
If you think it's the creatine, then yes, the creatine is the problem. But I would just go back to like my RP stuff is like, does creatine contain calories? No, creatine cannot help you gain weight. It
Hmm.
may be, it may attach to some water molecules. It may get stored in your muscle. But as far as the input of calories and weight gain. What we usually see is that when people spend money on themselves, they're more consistent or they try harder. So if you go and buy your creatine, it's almost like this weird investment on your own psyche to do better because now you're on the creatine. So we
Yeah.
find that outputs go up. They might train a little bit harder. And because of that, they're a little bit more hungry.
Right.
Now, plenty of people have told me, so it's like I'm not trying to just come out of left field and snipe you. Plenty of people have come to me and say,
No, I'm just
I
playing
gain,
devil's advocate.
yeah, I gain weight when I get on the creatine. Well,
Well, you do gain you
99.9% is it is water.
yes,
Is
that's it.
but you're talking about 10 pounds. You had a
No, no,
190.
no, no.
Yeah,
I'm saying you
you were
could
$190 and now you're
if someone
205.
198, 7
Okay.
pounds. So I did overestimate a little bit. But like a lot of people, myself included, I will gain about 3 to 5 pounds once I'm on
How long?
if I do a loading phase at like 4 to 6 weeks,
Yeah,
I'll put some more, but I'll feel more full, right? I'll be stronger, I'll recover faster, all the good stuff.
you're holding more
Um,
water.
yes, that's exactly what it is, and
Yeah,
that's what creatine does, right? It
yeah.
brings that it fills the muscles full of water. You're a little bit more full. You can recover a little bit faster. Simplified version, obviously, but you will get a little bit of weight gain. But what I always tell guys is one, we can counteract that if you're like over that threshold of when you're maybe a little bit too big, or leaning out or losing weight might be beneficial. But two, the benefits associated with creatine as far as recoverability, as far as being able to push harder in those sessions, is going to counteract maybe the 2 to 3 pounds that you gain from the water retention that you experience with creatine monohydrate. So,
I agree.
still going to be beneficial, still over the long term, going to raise your performance levels. And even going into selection for prior service guys, um, it's still going to stay in your system for that 10 to 14-day period. So you might, you know, feel a little bit better when you wake up in the morning at 4 in the morning after getting 3 hours of sleep. You might think a little bit more clearly out at land navigation. And like that's the thing that I always tell guys, it's not a miracle drug. It's like something that works in the background. You don't really notice it. Like you're not going to notice these huge differences um, right when you start taking it. You might like what you talked about. If you're like super sleep deprived and you take 20 grams of creatine, you might notice some differences. But by and large, it's like one of those that work in the background, but the prolonged effects of the recovery times, the performance can raise overall performance levels. I wanted to ask you, what are like the, you know, supplements that you recommend guys taking training up for different pipelines?
Got a list right here of my top 8 for you.
Oh, let's
But
dive in.
but before that, just because I get these questions a lot about creatine, you have to take creatine every day.
Hmm.
Does it matter when? No, because it works off of cell saturation. So as long as it's rhythmic and it's a time that you can do it consistently, that's more important than trying to time your creatine up. So every day for it to work. For example, if you're taking it Monday through Friday and you're leaving it at the gym or where you work on the weekends and not taking it on the weekends, you are doing yourself a huge disservice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, go ahead. Go ahead. We don't need to dive into it. No more tangents.
Yep. Top 8. Here we go. And they're in order of importance to me.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that. Take notes, guys. We should flip them. So
Okay.
the
Okay.
last
Least
one is the
important. We
most
got least important. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
least important to most important.
Okay. So
So stay tuned,
number
guys.
yeah, 8. Can't think backwards. 8, it would be zinc with a Z.
Okay,
So
least
we're taking,
important.
yeah, of the 8 most important. Yeah, we're taking zinc primarily to help us with illness. I don't know if you know, but it seems like for the past 2, maybe 3 months, everybody's sick.
Yeah,
Everybody's
dude,
got
it's
a sniff.
crazy.
So consistently taking zinc every night in conjunction with the 7 most important supplement that I'm about to talk here in a second, can really help you. And I always advocate around 50 IU. I don't know what the unit of measurement is, whether it's grams. It could just be IU, but 50 is usually the general mark. You could talk about whether you are about to feel like maybe you've got a little trickle in your throat. You're like, crap, I'm about to get sick. You can double that for like a day or two to try to like help smash it in the mouth. If you're pretty saturated, you take it regularly every night. So that's something you can use to weaponize as well. So number 7 would be magnesium, preferred glycinate, and that can be taken from 400 to 800 milligrams. Um, as far as where you should start, should always be on the low end. We do see that with more muscle-bound fellas, so 200 pounds plus, 400 might not do much at all. It's also genetically dependent. So some people react really well to it, and some people are like, didn't feel nothing. So then I'm like, oh, double it to 800, and then they get scared, but they don't know that I know that they weigh 220. So
So, what is the benefit of magnesium?
primarily for us, our magnesium is, well, for one, for starters, it's an electrolyte. Like you need it because you know, that stuff's coming out of you all day long. So as far as recovery is concerned and hydration is concerned, that's huge. But primarily with soft tissue recovery, keeping you in that parasympathetic state throughout the night, ensuring a more optimal sleep to help you with that recovery process would be its our primary concerns with magnesium.
Hmm. Okay.
Yep.
What's number 6?
6 is creatine. It's on there.
Dang, 6 all the way down at 6. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about the next 5.
Yeah. Yeah. The next one is vitamin C powder.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's
I
dive
have
in.
so vitamin C you could just put on the list, but I put powder because of my personal experience because of what you can do with the powder. So when you have a tablet, like you're confined to the amount, but when you have a powder, you have options. You have some play in it. So for example, 2 days ago, I was really sick. I didn't even tell you about how sick I was, but
I
there was
didn't
a
had no
chance that
idea.
this podcast wasn't happening. But
Dang.
I was smacking vitamin C, uh, a hefty scoop before every meal, knowing that that's not sustainable. But just trying to help me fight off whatever funk I had. Um, but primarily, I'm taking about 1,000 up to 3,000 grams a day. So
Damn.
with my huge powder scoop, um, so I got the vitamin C stuff back in the day when I was a little weightlifter, and I knew about the collagen synthesis and how important vitamin C played in the role of restoring and keeping healthy collagen in the ligaments and especially the tendons, because my sport was extremely tendinous. Um, so I used to join collagen and vitamin C and dome them together. And then once I started to come out of weightlifting and started to eat a lot of protein, my calories were good. I didn't need that collagen that much anymore, but I kept the vitamin C going. Um, and I feel like it's been huge. I've given it to other athletes, and the things that they talk about, I'm like, what could that have been? I was like, oh, the vitamin C. So as far as I've heard everything from mood better, energy better, sleep better, muscles don't feel sore and heavy, so it had an effect with DOMs. I've heard like it all,
Hmm.
but overall, you're an athlete, and when you're sick, you're not training
Yeah.
or you're not training optimally. So vitamin C is just an easy way every day to smack some powder. And you can always like if I wake up and I know I didn't sleep well, that's where the powder comes in. I'll be like, this is a big heaper scoop today. Boom. So I'm like medicating symptoms to start the day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that one. What do we
Yep.
got?
4 is vitamin D3,
Yeah.
and our minimum mandatory is 5,000 IUs, which is the general minimum for most athletes that play regular sports. that we know now.
Yeah.
There's a huge correlation between vitamin D3 and testosterone, and they're uh, they're very correlated. Let's just say that. Um, Sunlight, obviously, you're gonna absorb vitamin D, and it's gonna be good for you. But what we know now through modern diet and just weight training itself, not even sports training on the other that, of there needs to be some restorative D3 in the system to help immunity, bone strength, muscle mass, your whole endocrinology. It gets optimized with really good D3 levels. I myself, and I'm not going to push it, but through the vertical diet, I've been on 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 daily for at least a decade. And
Damn.
it has helped me a lot cognitively, and I don't get sick that much. And when I do, there's a quick rebound. Now, is it from all the other things I'm listing on here? Probably. Um, but to me, it's the fourth most important supplement you could get into your system.
I think it's one of the most underrated.
Yeah.
And pretty much every time, unless I'm supplementing with it, I've gotten my blood work done. Like we used to get our blood work done when we were on the teams every 6 months. They were always like, "You're deficient in vitamin D3." I'm like, and
Y-
back then I'm like, how? I freaking live in the sun and I'm out all hunting all
Yeah.
day long. Like now I live in Arizona and if I don't supplement with it, I'm still deficient. So most dudes are probably going to be deficient in it in
Yeah.
today's day and age.
Two things with vitamin D3 that I learned at the unit. One was a study with military finding that military and first responders have the worst D3 levels, and nurses, people that it's all about the shift work and the interruption of the circadian rhythm. So if you have a
Mm,
poop sleep cycle, your D3 is in the shitter. So they learned that. And then after taking care of a couple of dudes at Walter Reed, um, D3 was always low post surgery, and they would feed them suckers D3 and the recovery from the wounds of surgery to how optimal they were cognitively with the whole process and wanting to get out of there and get back to team was interesting. Seeing being there for a while and not diving too much into the weeds, but the SOCOM funded gentleman that had access to a performance dietitian, and then seeing some of the people that did not have that access, I knew some of the stuff that they were taking and some of the people that the other subjects weren't taking. And when you're there for 2 weeks and you're watching everything,
mm-hmm.
you start to link things. And D3 was heavily on the menu for all of them.
Wow. Love it.
Yep.
What we got
Number
next?
number three is just your straight up electrolyte tablets or packets. It's probably the third most valuable thing you could have in your arsenal. Um, as a tactical athlete, however you want to call yourself, first responder, it's crucial. Your hydration is right there, right up underneath a sleep. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it technically fits inside the window of nutrition. Without it, you are not sustainable. Um, so yes, I could list of sleep, mental health, physical health, all of the above.
For sure. And
Yeah,
to add on that, is this helped me understand the importance of hydration and electrolytes when I first understood this concept is for you guys listening, anytime you run, anytime you lift, do anything, it requires a muscle contraction. And that muscle contraction starts in our brain, which sends a signal to the muscle. The hydration and the electrolytes act as the conductor for that signal. So if you are deficient in those electrolytes, if you're deficient, you're um, not hydrated well, like you're not able to recruit those existing muscle fibers nearly as well as you typically are, which will have a big impact on your overall performance.
right. And the speed at which the contraction, so the speed at which that electronic current or signal travels. So think about CQB, um, life-saving decision-making processes, um, doing medical things inside of a firefight, like all those quick, 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 they're all still signals that you would need. So
Okay.
electrolytes is huge, 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 huge. Number two, sugar is
Sugar.
sugar,
Okay.
dude.
Get me my freaking Sour Patch Kids. Let's go.
Yes, yes. Um, Sugar's huge. And I'm just gonna put out some math. I would say 30 grams intra workout is probably the sweet spot for most folks. Um, if you're training for more than an hour of a day, um, there is a huge hydration component that you may not see or understand that you may need. Guys that have been training for a while understand this. And it's not just electrolytes, it's the carbohydrates. So the word hydrate is in carbohydrates. That sugar is vital to sustaining training and optimizing it, especially with the amount of running that y'all do. Um, Sugar's huge. Now, finding out what kinds of sugars work best for you. Um, it's really cheap, really affordable, but a maltose dextrin, a waxy maize, or a dextrose, most of those things are corn based. They're easy to break down, they're tasteless. Um, if you're so you can use it for training, right? Inside of training, before and after training. It's a supplement. You can also use it to supplement your meals. So what do I mean by that? If you're by nature just a lightweight guy, a heavy gainer, and you get done working out, there's two types of people. The guys that can work out and literally just hit the microwave and be like, I'm hungry. And like they're still their heart rate's still coming down. They're like, I'm hungry. And then there's the people like me that need like 2 hours because I'm just like, I just look at my meals and I'm like, I can't do this.
Hmm.
You can take some dextrose powder, and I got this from the vertical diet, sprinkle it all over your rice. And when your tongue hits that, like your salivatory gland just rips. And then all of a sudden it spikes in your brain and you just start going boom, 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 boom. So that's a real thing. I've used that for a long time.
That's
So
awesome. I've
yeah,
not thought of that.
yep.
Huh. All right.
Number one, which it fits into number three, is salt. Salt is the most
Yeah.
important um, supplement you should be taking. One, because you should be taking it about every 3 to 4 hours of your life, because on meals, and probably up to at least a gram intra training, and how important that is for you. Um, no need to cover all why it's important, but yeah, salt.
That's your solid list. And notice, guys, how we didn't say BCAAs, didn't
Oh,
say,
that's on my crap list. I put
yeah,
together a
yeah.
crap list of four crappers.
Let's go through the crap
Yep.
list because this is like the biggest thing I always get. I think it was in the group chat the other day, and I'm not dogging
Yeah.
on anybody because
No.
I was the
Mm-mm.
same way. You're
I've
looking
taken
for
all of
that
these
edge. You
for
know
a
what I
long
mean?
time.
Yeah, yeah. You're
Yeah.
looking for the edge. What do we got on the crap list, real quick?
Number one is BCAAs.
Yeah,
Um, Useful if you're in a caloric deficit, and inside that caloric deficit, your protein levels aren't matched to that 1 gram. So they are useful. Other than that,
circumstantially.
there's a really good meme about branched chain amino acids, and it's a guy washing his car in the middle of a thunderstorm. And that's what I think of someone who's in a caloric surplus drinking BCAAs.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
yeah.
Um, I Mike Israetel also talked about this, and I like how he talked about it. Is BCAAs are good if you're in that caloric deficit and obviously not getting enough of those amino acids, which are found in those whole proteins or complete proteins. But they're also good to kind of curb those cravings if you're
Mm,
like really trying to be in a caloric deficit. So sometimes if I'm in a caloric deficit and I'm like deep into it and I have really, bad cravings or hunger pangs, I will supplement with a little bit just because it's tasty, it's
right.
calorie free, and it has a little bit of branched chain amino acids in there. So that's like the only time that I will use it.
Uh,
They do
if that's
taste good
part of
though.
yeah, if it's part of your process, and that's like the enjoyment part that keeps you coming back, then like keep doing it, but nothing's happening.
Right, right, right. Like,
Right.
no, you're not, getting a lot of use out of your money, but
Number two, glucosamine conjoinant.
I've never used that.
It ain't working.
All right, all right. What is it? What is it marketed to do?
It's marketed to help your joints, but
Okay.
full range of motion strength training helps it significantly more. Yeah, if strength training with a full range of motion was a drug, it would be like 40 billion thousand percent more than glucosamine conjoinant. Yep.
I like that. All
Yeah.
right, what's the next one?
Mass gainers. Complete waste. Why?
Okay, let's dive into that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because there's some argument there to be made.
Good. Bring it on. From having worked at a GNC institute, they are by far the most expensive product, and GNC receives the most money. So they net the
Mm,
most money possible because it's very easy and affordable to make these.
huge markups.
If you already have protein powder, you have the mass gainer. You just need some fruit, some sugar, and you're there. Some
Yeah.
peanut butter, you're there. So you don't need it as a
Right.
supplement. There's
Right.
nothing that the mass gainer is going to do that other calories throughout your house is not going to do. For example, if you were to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich and maybe eat a banana and drink 2 scoops of protein powder, your homemade mass gainer and what it's going to do within your blood sugar is way better than anything that you can buy in a bag.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. The only argument I would make on that is sometimes guys who are on the lighter side struggle with their appetite, and drinking calories in that sense can
Yes.
make it a little bit easier. So guys, if they're struggling, they're not eating enough. Sorry, the baby's crying. Uh, Throwing a scoop of mascara in to get those calories can help out. But
But you're going
I
to
agree with
spend
you.
all your money on that thing, and then you can't buy creatine and vitamin C powder. See what
I
I'm saying?
agree. I would much rather just make a bomb smoothie. You know what I mean?
Hey. All right. Last one I put was weight loss pills. Now, back in the day, they used to put cool stuff in there that actually worked. They don't do that anymore.
What
So,
they used to put in there?
straight up ephedrine was awesome.
Really?
Oh, it was
Huh.
awesome. Yeah.
Now it's just caffeine,
Yeah,
right?
it's just caffeine.
Mostly
Yep.
caffeine, some
And with the
niacin.
amount of ghosts that the people that we're talking to drink, like you're already on way more of a weight loss pill than you could pop.
Yeah, white
So,
monsters for days.
yeah, that's what it is. That's all it is.
Yeah,
It's just a waste of money.
dang.
Yeah.
That's solid. That's a solid list.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, time to wrap it up. We got you watching the national championship tonight?
I'm going to bed.
Yeah, yeah. This is
I
the
can watch it
first.
on I can watch it on YouTube. I have like a
That's true.
27-minute perfect clipped out. I ain't got time for that. Gotta
This
sleep.
is the first college football game I've
Yep.
watched this year. I've been on the
Yep.
NFL train for the last couple weeks, but first college
Huh.
football game I've watched. But the mother-in-law is making some bomb spaghetti, so
Yep.
I'm about to do a carb load for this lift tomorrow
Yep.
morning.
Miami is very exciting to watch, but they will not be exciting to watch against Indiana. They're going to get absolutely pounded.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Now you're on the record calling it. So
I don't care.
I'm just
My
messing.
team lost. Yep.
Who?
Oregon got
Oh, you're
absolutely
still an
dumped
Oregon
on
fan.
by it. I mean, I have the hat on, so yeah.
I couldn't tell.
So,
It's backwards, man. I guess if you coach there, you have to be an Oregon fan for life, right?
I don't know if I was a fan, but since there was only 6 teams left and I used to go to school there and coach, I was like, all right, I'm
Yeah,
gonna ride with them right now.
fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. But all right, man.
All
Appreciate
right.
you joining in, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
Peace.